when I think of fasting, I think of Jesus' fast when he went 40 days in the desert and was tried and tested by the devil. But then when I think of that story, I think about the story around that story, which is his baptism. And so Jesus comes down to the river, he meets John, and John baptizes him, and Jesus comes out of the water, and the Holy Spirit descends on him like a dove, and he's empowered. He's filled with the Holy Spirit. He's prepared, and the Lord speaks over him, "This is my beloved Son, whom I'm well pleased." And then he goes and gets sent into the desert. And I find very interesting how after he comes out of the water that he would be sent into the desert right away after being empowered. But it seems to be the way of Jesus. He pursues this obedience that his Father is asking him to do. He is led by the Holy Spirit and starts a 40-day fast to begin this journey of voluntary weakness, the one that his Father calls him into. And it just seems like his character, everything's upside down in this kingdom. So we have just this great example of Jesus following his Father's will. He's so willing to be led by his Father, so yielded to his Father, and it just sets the example for us of how we can embrace our Father's strength and join with Jesus in this lifestyle of voluntary weakness. And he comes into agreement with heaven's intention. Like, he just comes into agreement with his Father's goodness and kindness. And this goodness and kindness it leads him to stamp out evil in the earth. And it comes through being weak. It comes through being empowered by his Father. And he goes on in his ministry, and he starts to preach. And one of his first messages he preaches is the Sermon on the Mount. And the starting of the Sermon on the Mount is critical too. And he says something really important. The first words out of his mouth, he says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now that statement right there will mess you up, because it at first glance it looks like blessed are those who are poor financially, but he's really not going there. He's going to a place where it's deeper than that. He says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." He's talking about our relationship with God. And so when he says spirit, he means like, blessed are those who realize their need for God, who realize how much they need him. And so right there, he sets the mark. And as you read through the whole Beatitudes, every one of those Beatitudes brings us to a place, again, of voluntary weakness, just understanding that it's God's strength that we operate in. It's choosing a lifestyle that's fasted, that's restricted, that's kept at bay, so we can actually encounter God's presence. So in Psalms 35, David says, "I will humble myself with fasting." And this is another example of how, somebody in the Bible wanted the heart of God. He humbled himself so he could encounter God's heart for him. It's when our bodies are tired, when our minds are spacey, when our strength is gone, our capacities aren't at their full operation. That's when we realize how strong God is for us and where our strength comes from. Fasting also helps us overcome addictions to legitimate pleasures. We stimulate our souls in a multitude of ways rather than being on God and his word. Our raw, naked weakness really gets exposed because we keep propping it up with entertainment, with money, with recreation, and even ministry opportunities. Charles Finney says, "We engage these innocent amusements and overindulge in entertainments that are not unrighteous in themselves, but do nothing to enhance our souls in fellowship with God." Jesus is calling us to a lifestyle that our greatest pleasure will be made manifest when we spend time with him, when we get intimate with him, when we feast on the person of Jesus, pursuing intimacy with Jesus.